Good day, everyone. Dr. Keith Thompson. I am Chief Medical Officer here at NuraLogix. Excited to be here speaking to you today on the Gerian Tech exhibition here in Hong Kong. You know, I've been a family physician for 30 years. That's still a large part of the work that I do. And it's fascinating to see how AI and digital health technology is changing the way that we engage with our patients and the way we perform the tasks that we had done before. Not too long ago, you know, this device was standard of care, and it still is a tool that I use, but it's quickly being replaced by other digital tools. And this device I use to check blood pressure is what I would normally give and send home to the patient so they can measure blood pressure at home. But we're at a state now where this device, the cell phone, in the hands of the patient, is becoming that point of care technology and all sorts of applications now that we're able to engage with patients where they are, help them understand where they are at risk, and develop health literacy. And I'll tell you, this tool is equitable. 70% of the lowest income nations have access to this. So if you took the 20% lowest income, 70% of that population has access to this technology. Let me bring up my screen here and show you a little bit more about what we're talking about. Excellent. So a little bit about myself. As I mentioned, I am a family physician. I am adjunct faculty, University of Western Ontario. I'm in London, Ontario, Canada. And I am also involved in some studies and research in virtual care. I'm a board-certified medical affairs specialist, and I'm involved in several working groups, including the IEEE Industry Connections for Telehealth. I sit on the executive group for the WONCA, which is a World Congress of Family Docs, their eHealth working group. I sit on that. And I am also recently, as a member of Standards Council of Canada, was allowed and voted forward to participate in the ISO 81060 standards working group for blood pressure devices, cuffless blood pressure devices, which I'll tell you why that's important as we come further to our technology. And I'm just going to advance to the next slide. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the world. The world is aging, and people ages over 60, and while it was only about 10% in 2017, went up to 13.7 and 20% by 2030 and predicted by 2050, respectively. The health issues that older people face, mental health, hypertension, diabetes, all these contribute to functional decline. In 2050, 80% of the older folks will be living in low and middle income countries. So again, you can see that disparity, how the distribution of folks with advanced age and the difficulties and challenges that entails disproportionately weighted to lower middle income countries. The countries with fewer resources have that greater burden. 14% of people over 60 live with a mental health disorder. And I can tell you as a family doc, that's a challenge because they don't always want to come forward and share with what's going on. They'll tend to suffer in silence. These conditions are costing us big time, not just in the aged population, but just as a general rule. Diabetes, 460 million people worldwide affected by this. It is 6% of the global population, and it is generally preventable. It's a disease of lifestyle. It's a disease that if people knew or are aware that they were in a pre-diabetic state, they might be able to make some interventions or changes. Did you know that 3/4 of the fatalities for cardiovascular disease were in low and middle income countries? And 17 million people died in 2015, all of them under the age of 70. Multiple risk factors that contribute to that. Hypertension being one of them. 1 billion people worldwide have hypertension. Only half of them are aware that they have it. And again, this is a disease that contributes to all sorts of complications, stroke, heart attack, and all sorts of things. Mental health, huge costs, over $1 trillion per year lost in productivity due to mental health struggles or challenges. I'm going to play a short video because this is why I'm speaking to you today about NuraLogix, what it is that we do. And I'll go a little bit deeper into the technology, but I just want to play for you this video.
NuraLogix is a leading pioneer in the development of effective AI. and is the creator of the world's first contactless blood pressure measurement technology. Affective AI is a cross between affective computing and artificial intelligence. It is the ability to recognize human affects that take the form of physiological and psychological states by using computational models. Behind this is our cloud-based affective AI engine called DeepAffects. DeepAffects is our artificial intelligence service utilizing our innovative transdermal optical imaging technology to provide over 100 vital signs from a 30-second facial scan. Our DeepAffects engine allows us to work with businesses so that they can develop customized solutions across a diverse range of industries. Using this technology, we have created a comprehensive set of video-based contactless health measurement solutions, a NuraEnterprise, a NuraTelehealth, and our latest innovation, a NuraMagic Mirror. A NuraEnterprise is a video-based contactless health monitoring solution that measures over 100 health parameters via a 30-second video selfie. A NuraTelehealth provides clinicians with the ability to remotely scan their patients while on a live video consultation session. As a clinician, imagine having patient vitals charted in real time during a video appointment. Our newest innovation, called a NuraMagic Mirror, represents a first-of-its-kind smart mirror that captures health vitals in 30 seconds. The versatile 21.5-inch screen empowers partners to develop proactive industrial solutions. Our solutions target a wide variety of applicable use cases. For health service providers, imagine being able to video conference with your clients while you simultaneously monitor their vital signs and health parameters such as pulse rate, blood pressure, heart rate variability, breathing rate, and much more, as it is being measured in real time. For insurers, imagine evaluating customer risk factors during the underwriting process with a quick assessment of an individual's health status. For corporate wellness, give your employees the ability to quickly assess their health and vital signs while tracking their wellness history over time.
At NuraLogix, our goal is to use effective AI to improve the lives of people everywhere.
I've watched that video several times and I still love it because it really does get to the crux of the matter, and that is simplifying the workflow to do some of the assessments and determining where people are at risk. So let's go a little bit deeper into that. How does this technology work? It was mentioned the transdermal optical imaging. That is a novel form of remote photoplasmography, and that's our patented process that we use to determine some of these health risks and what's going on. How does it work? Well, most of you are familiar with that device you put over the end of the finger that captures the oxygen level. A light source goes into the fingertip, and we can see the pulse wave in the finger. Now, imagine doing that not with the direct light source, but reflected light. The skin on our face is translucent. It changes color as the blood pulses through the face, through the cardiac cycle. And we can see that, but not just in one region, like the tip of the finger, multiple regions. In fact, there's about 23 or 24 different regions of the face that we can see using a simple camera of a smart device, red, blue, green, 30 frames per second. We can see that pulse wave. And that's really where the magic starts, because once we capture that pulse wave, we can then do all sorts of analysis on it. We can see the transit time of the pulse wave across the face, the time it takes to go from the chin to the forehead, for example. We can measure the energy, the waveform itself. We can measure the rate of descent of the wave. We can see the variability of the pulse, and we can do heart rate variability, all sorts of a number of different measurements. And that's where in DeepAffects, we use the AI machine learning, those deep neural networks, to recognize all of these data patterns and how those various data patterns and data sets correlate with various medical conditions. We mentioned the magic mirror, and really that's a standalone hardware. So rather than doing this technology just on a smartphone or a simple device, we can do it in a mirror. And that could be set up in a health facility. It could be set up at a fitness studio. It could be at a pharmacy, for example. So it really is another means of accessing and getting this technology out there. The parameters that we measure is that we said in the video, there are over 100 different features that we can capture. And the way that we do that is we have brought over 50,000 plus individuals into the lab, consensual research that we've done this, and we were able to get all of their medical history. What was their blood sugar level? What was their hemoglobin A1C, for example, which is a marker for diabetes risk? We measured their blood pressure across a spectrum, and capturing all of that data, then using the machine learning to train and recognize what these conditions look like with these new data sets, right? It's really a comparison. It's like, we know what ground truth is. What does that ground truth look like in these individuals when we're measuring other features? And here's just a snapshot of all of the features that we can gather. And imagine the workflow that it would take to do this. Incredible. You would have to go to the physician, have the visit, get the lab rec, go to the lab, have the blood test, wait several days, get the result, review it with the physician. Imagine doing all of that in 60 seconds with a scan. We do not store the patient's personal health data. By the way, we have anonymized data. We don't store the video of the face. We don't recognize the person. This is all processing in the cloud for deep effects, but we can create that overall wellness score. We can talk a little bit about the specifics of what this technology does in some of the classifier models. And by that, it means we have trained the models to recognize what is the probability that the patient belongs to this particular population. So, for example, we scan you and it says that you're at risk or you appear to be of the population set that has hypertension. It'll give you a probability. It'll say 60% probability that you match the patients who have hypertension. Now, if we look at what is called the negative predictive value, and we've shown you some of the ratings on that. The negative predictive value is a true negative. In other words, if you score 97% in the diabetes, your test is negative for diabetes, or your scan is negative for diabetes, it's 97% likely that that's a true negative. Now, there is a device out there. There's a predicate for this, and the FDA recently cleared a device called a Xygkou-Tsiamoulou, which is an auscultation device, and it uses AI, machine learning, different data set, but it's able to recognize coronary artery disease by auscultation, and it has a 96% negative predictive value. So it's, again, if you use that test and it says, no, there does not appear to be any risk of cardiovascular disease or coronary artery disease, that is likely to be a 96% true negative test. And so that's setting the precedent for how we can use these technologies as a screening tool. Now, we have a whole set of parameters and a whole suite of features we can check for diabetes. We can do fatty liver, hypertension, high cholesterol. I'm showing them all of them here. And particular risk of diabetes. What is the likelihood that your hemoglobin A1C is elevated? We are not replacing the measurement of these devices, or the measurement of these units, rather. We're doing it as a classifier model. It's a yes or no, do you belong to this population that is in this risk or is part of this risk profile? You know, the profiling, again, we're looking particularly at metabolic syndromes. And if you think of what fuels cardiovascular disease, particularly in the aging population, the risk of diabetes goes up as we age. The risk of heart disease and stroke goes up with age, no doubt. How many of these conditions, though, might be preventable? How can we capture people upstream before they have a cardiovascular event or a complication from some of these non-communicable diseases? We have a new feature that may be coming out soon regarding anemia, and we'll be able to do a similar scan and determine what is the probability, or is it possible that you suffer from anemia. Now, We are still research-based. It's important to clarify that we do not yet have FDA clearance, but we are working on that as we speak. And I personally and some of my colleagues, we're involved in some of the working groups that would help develop the standards around using this technology for blood pressure, for example. We published a paper in 2019 in the American Heart Association that showed, yes, based on the known standards for ISO 81060, the standards for blood pressure cuff device, we were as accurate, 95% accurate in measuring blood pressure using our technology of transdermal optical imaging, or TOI. Now, we need to develop new standards because it's been said, well, that's for cuff-based devices. You're a different beast and you need to develop your own or new standards for that. And that's what we're in the process of doing. Our company is founded squarely on research, and we publish all that we do. Basically, we are the foundational technology. Published first in 2019 to show how you could do blood pressure using this technology. This slide is a bit old. We have more than 18 patents. I think we're up to over 23 or 24 patents and even more pending. We have had a number of innovation awards. We are featured on CNN recently on their Frontiers program, and how this technology is going to change and revolutionize the way that we do medicine. We are certainly compliant with all the known privacy and security, SOC 2, GDPR, PIPEDA, HIPEDA certified. We've had very few, if any, exceptions. We always score exceedingly high in our audits for these privacy platforms and certifications. And as I said, we do not store personal data. This is up in the cloud. It's anonymous processing that allows us to gather these features and determine how patients are at risk. So I want to thank you again for coming today, and just tell you that we're excited really what's happening at our company. And, you know, we're across multiple markets. We're seeing just an explosion of uptake, certainly within the health insurance industry. But elder care is going to be one that's going to be a new realm and exciting as well. When you think of just the processing and how this technology can be done. You know, I had a patient I had to visit at home, and I had difficulty getting the blood pressure cuff, and they were disabled. We were unable to easily move the upper arm. And I have access to this. It's investigational, but I was able to do the scan right at the bedside. And that, to me, turned on the light, because I thought, you know what? This also is going to improve utility for people with disability. And it's such an intuitive process that we can do, and that is going to revolutionize for people and how they access and understand their own risk, understand their own health conditions, and as I said, be able to engage prior to developing the other complications from these various diseases. So thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague here, who's going to take care of some of the questions. Certainly look up our website. There's a lot more. I've given you the snapshot version of everything today, and feel free to reach out to any of us here in the company, and look forward to your questions today. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Xygkou-Tsiamoulou, and I'm a PhD researcher in computing at the University of Kent in UK. I am greatly honored to be part of this GIES conference, and I would like to thank the conveners and the moderators of this conference for giving me this chance to talk about one part of my PhD research about conversational virtual humans and how we can use them in promoting social connectedness and companionship in autistic adults. So this is exactly the bridging we would like to achieve through this research, to bridge healthcare and innovation, and reply to the query how conversational AI actually revolutionizes social connectedness in autistic adults. So the main question is, can conversational AI provide social support in the form of companionship? Can chatbots or virtual conversational agents support groups who are vulnerable to social isolation? social anxiety, who suffer from grief and any other kind of social deficits. We have a variety of terminology addressing conversational agents. So on the right-hand side of this slide, you can see conversational AI, conversational virtual human, virtual companion, virtual agent, virtual assistant, chatbot, and even social robot, which is the embodied virtual agent. So what if the reply to this question is yes, conversational AI can support these groups? The next question is how. So there is a variety of factors that researchers and developers should take into consideration in order to make it happen. First of all, customization is quite crucial. Which dialogue system or combination of different dialogue systems is the right one for the specific group of people? Should the conversational agent be embodied or disembodied, maybe physically embodied, like robots? What about customizing the agent to address the group linguistic diversity? Different groups interact with neurotypical people in different ways. How about the user interface? Should it be 2D, AR, or VR? And of course, the main question is for which vulnerable groups it works better. For those suffering from social anxiety, from stress, suicidal ideation, loneliness, or even autism. And for which specific users works better. So now we move on to the specific traits that each user has. We have non-verbal users, users afraid of revealing symptoms of their disease or of their condition to a human specialist. So we've been starting talking about virtual humans, but who are they? So I have a compilation of different virtual humans I've used in all my types of research. This is Replica, and this is Replica in a virtual reality environment. This is Cookie, which is the actual agent that we are going to use, and we used in the specific research. Xygkou-Tsiamoulou, the Microsoft conversational agent, and this is MindTalker, an application I developed myself for people with early stage dementia. So we can see that we have a variety of characteristics that we can attribute to different virtual humans. They could be physical or digital, visual, auditory, or textual. We have embodied or disembodied agents, humanoid or non-humanoid, natural language or command-driven communication. Of course, now with this burst of GPT-4, most of them conversational agents have integrated GPT-4 advanced models. Autonomous or controlled, emotional or unemotional, have a presence of a personality and the ability to reason. So those are some of the traits that we would like our agents to have, and developers have been working hard to accomplish this. So who is Cookie? Who is this agent that we used for the specific group of autistic adults? So Cookie is a digital entity developed by Steve Warsick, a British creator. She presents as an 18-year-old female. She lives in UK. She likes sci-fi movies. She can play a few games, and she has not, or had not at the time that I carry out the research, been programmed to recognize rich media or to recognize even smileys or respond accordingly. So at the time I carried out the research with Cookie, GPT-3 or GPT-4 wasn't out. In this slide, you can see the user interface that Cookie can be used on. She can be reached at Facebook Messenger user interface, or on the right-hand side of the slide, it is also web-based. So this is the title of my paper, which was published at the International Journal of Human-Computer Interaction. Can I be more social with a chatbot? Social connectedness through interactions of autistic adults with a conversational virtual human. And we mean Cookie with the term conversational virtual human. So before delving in the actual research, I would like to give a very brief review of the literature existing up to that time. So we have a few agents present, and we have research being carried out. Lisa, for example, is a virtual conversational agent that explored interactions with high-functioning autistic teenagers back in 2014. And Echoes is a platform developed as a virtual peer to engage children with autism in a collaborative storytelling task. We have interaction with virtual agents designed to be used as educational tools by Milne et al. 2018. And Ali et al. Has developed embodied conversational agents, 2D-based, to encourage autistic children's naturalistic conversations and improve their social emotion recognition ability and social interactions. And last, we have embodied conversational agents, which are considered to be the most suitable conversational technology for children with autism. Using the term embodied conversational agents, we mean 2D avatars. So this type of agents help autistic children in minimizing alienation, support them to maximize relational skills, and help them in separating automatic and relational tasks during therapy. Of course, there are great limitations of this earlier work. The samples are very small, ranging from 2 to 9 autistic participants. And most of this research addresses autistic children or teenagers. So autistic adults in general is an under-researched group up to now. Most of this research uses the Wizard of Oz approach, which means the virtual agent is controlled by a human controller or an experimenter. Also, we can see that most of the 2D avatars are non-realistic or non-human-like. And this is accompanied by an unnatural lip synchronization and eye gazing, giving this weird sensation of interacting with something non-human-like. And of course, there is this generic dialogue system which lacks human-like conversational features, such as graphics or gestures, or a personalized verbal style, or more personalized topics. And above all, is a lack of analysis of conversation features and interaction via chat logs. So with the term conversational chat logs, we're talking about analyzing the actual transcript of the conversation between the users and the bot. So what is new? What is new in my research in terms of autistic people interacting with a virtual agent? So after reviewing this earlier work and findings, we decided we should carry out research to explore the perceptions of relationship of autistic adults with conversational agents in terms of friendship, trust, and empathy. We also analyzed the conversational chat logs of all the users. And of course, we had to face specific challenges by different groups, either in terms of the mechanics and user interface or dialogue system, and the linguistic repertoire resulting in meaningful communication. We addressed all those. And finally, we found out that AI technologies should be customized to cater for vulnerable groups, and this specific vulnerable group, autistic people. So those are the 3 main research questions that we delved into replying in this research. How do autistic people interact with a virtual entity? How are the interaction patterns of autistic people different from the interaction patterns of typically developing adults with a conversational virtual human? And how do autistic and typically developing adults perceive this relationship in terms of trust, friendship, social interaction, emotional response, and their interactions as well with this digital entity? So the rationale behind this study was, why should we use cookie? So at the time, GPT-4 was not that advanced, and there was Replica and Xygkou-Tsiamoulou. Xygkou-Tsiamoulou is an entity that we could not access in any way. It's not accessed in the Western world. Replica at the time was a GPT-4 based application, but we could not actually have access to the transcripts, to have like the historical chat logs. That's why we decided we should use Cookie, which was an open access chatbot, not an application. And the data collection process was more convenient through the Facebook Messenger deployment. And it was a bot that was quite direct in interacting, and she used literal language as she was like based on the AI ML language model, the artificial intelligence markup language model, which was quite rigid. And she expressed a lack of understanding of metaphors and irony, which is exactly a specific linguistic trait of the autistic group. In terms of methodology, at the beginning, we had more than 25 autistic people. But at the end, we ended up with 6 autistic adults and 6 non-autistic adults as a control group. The measures we used were conversational chat log analysis, post-study measures, 3 questionnaires. We're going to have a better look onwards, semi-structured online interviews. And the analysis was a mixed research design based on both quantitative and qualitative analysis. So this is a slide based on our 12 participants, 6 autistic and 6 non-autistic participants, and the time of the interaction time ranged from 40 minutes to 17 hours. The materials and equipment were short demographics questionnaire, 1 month conversational chat logs. And in terms of the questionnaires, we had the user experience questionnaire, the trust questionnaire, the virtual human interaction evaluation scale questionnaire, and the empathy and friendship questionnaire. So the 2 basic findings of our interview with the participants were 2 themes. The first theme was the autistic user's perception of Cookie as both autistic and non-autistic, and the dehumanization paradox, meaning that autistic users were treating Cookie as both a human and an object at the same time. So this is a synopsis of our findings in terms of interaction, empathy, and trust. So both groups emphasized Cookie's limited conversational skills. And she had this outdated and insensitive humor. Sometimes they were quite frustrated. But they perceived Cookie, autistic users perceived Cookie both as a human entity and a machine. They were so eager to interact with Cookie that they viewed her more as a companion, and they accommodated her in order to facilitate communication. On the contrary, neurotypical adults humanized Cookie less, and they used Cookie more as an experimental platform. In terms of empathy, both groups were frustrated with Cookie's lack of empathy and generic replies. So frustration was more evident in autistic people due to their higher expectations of having like a very positive experience with Cookie. And the neurotypical participants, on the other hand, they tested Cookie's abilities by using fake personal scenarios. In terms of trust, both groups trusted Cookie for different reasons. So autistic users trusted Cookie because she was non-judgmental in whatever they shared with her, and because they had this intense desire to see Cookie as a social companion, while the neurotypical participants did not trust Cookie because of her not self-revealing nature, meaning that Cookie did not share lots of personal stuff with them. And of course, both groups distrusted Cookie due to her privacy and data protection issues. So these are the outcomes of this research in terms of the specific design improvements for this group of autistic adults. So we have 5 different sectors in terms of enhanced emotional intelligence. So more empathy recognition capabilities should be developed in terms of addressing nuanced emotional cues and adapting responses to match user responses. In terms of personalization and adaptability, we should implement more adaptive learning algorithms and customized responses to accommodate these literal and straightforward communication preferences of autistic adults. In terms of accessibility and inclusivity, we should ensure that those entities are intuitive and they incorporate multiple interaction modes to accommodate users. And of course, the most basic issue is ethical considerations. So we should communicate capabilities and limitations clearly set to realistic expectations and ensure privacy and security of user data, making sure that our users do not over-rely on them for social interaction. So this is very important. We use conversational virtual humans as a bridging platform so that our users can actually improve their social skills and stop interacting with them in order to have a generalization in real life, but not use them for life. And finally, our practical design features, which should allow for customization of interaction styles and integrate feedback mechanism to adjust conversation pace and complexity. And finally, enable real-time adaptation based on user feedback. So those are some of the references in case anyone would like to have a look based on the literature review that we used. And I'd like to thank you all for giving me this opportunity to talk to you about my research. Thank you.